everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is a vlog about my late diagnosed autism and ADHD diagnosis. I also talk about aphantasia, the inability to visualize, and my memory disorder called SDAM, which stands for severely deficient autobiographical memory on this channel. So I'm a little salty with some of my subscribers today, and that's okay. I love you dearly, and we can have interesting debates and conversations. And I say that lightly because I'm not really mad at y'all, but my last video where I was really stressed out and I did a decompress with me and I took the artistic license to add some music to the background, which I specifically do very little editing in my videos because it's important for me for people to see as real a representation of autism as they can. As everyone knows, autism is a spectrum, and I am one autistic voice. I can only represent one autistic person. This is one representation of autism, but it is as authentic as I can be for a video. So I do like to do a lot of the least amount of editing as possible. The last video, because it was a decompression video and I had the lights really low, I had a candle lit, I put some soothing music in the background. And it was a learning experience for me because I got many comments that people did not like the music and that they came to my channel because I don't usually put music in. And at first, I am going to admit, I'm a human. My feelings were very hurt. But please don't click off. I want to explain because I'm not mad at anybody. It was a really good learning experience for me because I want to walk the talk, right? It's very important to me in this unmasking autism process that I actually stand by the things that I say. And I want this space to be a very autistic friendly space. And one of the things that a lot of autistic people do is have a very kind of a blunt way of speech. So sorry. My brain is stopping. Okay, so one of the things that I talk about a lot of times, because I experience it quite often myself, is a lot of times when I'm processing, I process out loud, and neurotypical people or allistic people will perceive me processing my environment out loud as a complaint, or oftentimes when I don't like something, I might be blunt about it. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude. I'm just not sugarcoating it in the same way that an allistic person might do that. Because allistic people, when they don't like something, they say it in subcontext. They word around it. They're just not direct communicators. And I really do appreciate and love direct communication. But because I've been a masked autistic person, an undiagnosed, high masking autistic person, I have been taught to also have blunt communication that comes into me be perceived as being rude. But I forget that because I'm autistic, even masked, your mask isn't perfect. And oftentimes I would say something to somebody and they would like, well, that's rude. And I'm like, well, I didn't mean it to be rude. What are you talking about? And we'd have to break it down. So when a couple things happened, sorry, my clothes are never comfortable, and so I just having issues. That's a sensory issue. Okay, a couple of things happened. So when I first started getting in the comments, because I don't use music very often in my video, my first thought was, oh my gosh, did I objectively do something where I put the sound up too high? Because I have done that on some shorts. After I uploaded, the sound got messed up and it was too loud to hear my voice. So that like objectively like is bad quality. Like if the music drowns out the voice completely, like 100% or like, 90%, then objectively that would be really bad editing, right? So my first worry was like, oh my gosh, did I actually do something wrong? And another thing that's happened is when I've edited back using my computer speakers, it doesn't have the same as if I use my headphones. So this time I made sure to edit with my headphones so that way I could, balance out the sound to a preference that I thought was nice. Well, so then I listened to it back again and I asked another friend who is on YouTube, and I trust her opinion, and she's autistic. And so I asked her, I'm like, can you listen to this and let me know, did I objectively like make the sound too loud to listen to, or is this just a personal preference of some of my audience members? And so she said that the sound was fine, and she's really sensitive to sounds in general. And so I really trust her opinion. And there's nothing wrong with having an opinion and not liking the video that I use sound in. Like, I'm not upset about that. What I was upset about was, did I do something wrong? Did I objectively, not subjectively, do something that was bad editing? And I'm using this because YouTube is my job per se. Like, it is, I mean, I don't make enough money on YouTube to call it a job, but like it's my calling. I love doing this. I love making videos. But I'm using my example, my life, for you to like maybe take this kinds of things that happen to me and like relate to where maybe they have happened in your life. Like, have you turned in a report to a boss and the boss was like, this is bad, or, like these kinds of things, right? So I'm wearing my cute little pug pajamas. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this chair in a minute too. I love this chair. Because I'm always moving. Okay, so once I objectively realized that my editing was my personal choice, I chose to put music behind that video, which I do understand is kind of unexpected when I have up until this point done very, very little editing. It's kind of an unspoken broker contract, right, with y'all. Like, y'all, my subscribers, come to my channel because y'all appreciate the low amount of editing. I don't have like a lot of flashy graphics. I don't have a lot of flashy sounds. Sometimes I'll put like a little ding when I put a visual. That way, like for the people who like to crochet, I sometimes will try to put that little ding so that way you know that I've put words on the page. A lot of people hate it when I do that too, so I'm kind of torn between whether or not to put the little subtle dings or not. I go back and forth on that. A lot of times, so it comes down to just my personal preference. I like the little dings so I know to look up on the screen when I'm watching a YouTube video, because a lot of times I do just like to listen to them in the background. But my unspoken kind of contract with y'all is that I do very little editing. And in this video, or the last video, I did put sound. And so I could see that was a change. It was unexpected change. Like, a lot of autistic people don't like change. And it was like abrupt for y'all. And you were like, oh, I don't like the music. And so y'all spoke plainly and bluntly. And like I said, at first I was upset. I'm trying to think of the right word, because, alexithymia, like sometimes it's hard for me to even know what my emotions were. But it wasn't that I was upset at y'all. It was upset that I did something wrong. Part of my mask was always to be a perfectionist and to make sure that I put other people's comfort ahead of my own and just be a good little girl. Those are like my neurotypical.exe, the mask that I run my code through before I do anything. And even though I'm in the process of unmasking, it is still very easy to fall into old patterns, especially when something upsetting happens, right? So once I realized, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. This was my artistic preference for this decompression video. Then I was able to step back and look at it and realize, okay, the people that made these comments were just sharing their opinion in a very autistic way. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's nothing wrong with autism. It's just a different way of communicating. It's just that so many of us in society, even autistic people ourselves, are conditioned that blunt equals rude, and it doesn't. Blunt does not equal rude. Blunt is just one communication style. There's certain cultures, like I've had people in my comment section, I think, I hope I'm correct, but I think it was Dutch. People say that in the Dutch culture, just blunt is also like a cultural norm. Also in the deaf community, they call it deaf blunt. Like being blunt is extremely cultural norm in deaf community. And autistic people often are very blunt, and I am too. But when it comes at me, my conditioned, my neurotypical conditioning, like just triggered. And at first I was like, rude, but y'all weren't being rude. Nobody in the comments said anything that was rude. Many of y'all said this video is not for me. I don't like the music. And a lot of y'all actually did like the music. The first comments that I were getting were really against putting the music in, but then later I did get a handful of people who really liked the music. So you just, like anything in life, you can't please everybody, and you just have to kind of like, that was again part of the lesson that I learned. It's like I just have to stay true to myself. As I'm unmasking, I am learning to find out who I am, what my opinions are, who I want to be and show up as in the world. And it is hard because things are going to come at me and try to put me right back into old behavior patterns that I am trying to step out of because they weren't good for my mental health. Always living your life to please others is no way to live your life. You get one life. You get one go at this world, and spending 40 years of my life people pleasing left me a shell of a person. And so what I have taken from this, because I did use it as a learning opportunity, I love making videos. This is my personal vlog. I started this vlog because, like I said in the beginning of the video, I have a memory disorder. When I first started the vlog, I thought it'd be interesting to put up a couple videos about aphantasia and my memory disorder because there's not much content up on the internet about it. They're fairly new discoveries. And then when I started to question if I was autistic, I decided kind of on a whim to just go ahead and put my videos public. I had like less than 200 subscribers when I started talking about am I autistic or not. And I wasn't expecting anybody to really follow along. I'm grateful y'all have. I love it. I love that I'm not alone in this and that y'all see yourselves in me and in each other in the comment section. I love the community that is coming up from these videos and the shared experiences and the validation. But, you know, I did start this as a vlog of my lived experience, and I do want to stay true to that. And I also want to create this audience and community. And in order to do that, I want to listen to the needs of the community, because the vlog has become bigger than me just shouting into the void, which is what it kind of started out as. So no, I'm not going to promise that I will never, ever not put music to a video. But if I do, I will start the video out saying, hey guys, I'm going to put some music to this video because I do enjoy sometimes listening to quiet, soft music to decompress. And so in this video, I'm going to do that. And if that's not your vibe, cool, scroll on and meet me back for the next one, because it won't be most of them. I most of the time prefer no noise than noise. I'm a kind of autistic person that gets really sensory sensitive to noise, just like a lot of you guys who mentioned that in the comments. But, you know, sometimes I might want to, and I'm just trying to find myself and find who I am as a person, because I really got lost being undiagnosed. I got lost behind the mask. And for those of you who might be new and don't know what I'm talking about like what is a mask, what it was a mask. Basically, when you're undiagnosed autistic, you start to develop ways of survival to help you fit in and not stand out and survive your environment. And that can show up for different ways. Some people's masks actually are the opposite. They're very loud and like sometimes destructive even, because that was their way of survival. The mask is your brain's way of surviving whatever situation you were in, because your natural autistic tendencies are not accepted in our society. And that's something that I hope to change through my small little voice with a ripple of change. I hope to keep normalizing autism. Part of the unmasking process is going back and reliving sort of how your life played out. This is something that a lot of autistic people have done. Once they get a diagnosis later in life, they kind of like reflect and think back. And I talked about that a couple of videos ago. And last night I went out to dinner with my mom, and my mom also was late diagnosed autistic. So once I got diagnosed autistic and learning more about it, I went to my mom and I was like, hey, I think you're autistic too. And the more we like looked into it and like looked at her patterns and behaviors and sensory and social struggles, it is very evident that my mom was also undiagnosed autistic. And so we are both learning to unmask together. And it's hard because a lot of my mask was developed because my mom was an undiagnosed single parent. So a lot of my mask was make my mom's life easier, because as a single parent, it was undiagnosed. So she was struggling, right? I could see that. You know, my mom's life wasn't easy. So I wasn't going to do anything that made her life harder. But that created a persona for me that I never created my own opinions. I never had boundaries with my mom. Because like if she said to do something, even if it wasn't something that I liked or wanted to do or felt comfortable with, I would just go along because it made my mom's life easier. She wasn't doing any of this to be malicious. My mask nobody knew, like none of it was purposeful. So last night we went out to dinner and we both had a really good discussion and talk about it, because a lot of late diagnosed autistic people, their parents were also undiagnosed. And if they're undiagnosed, they have also suffered trauma. And they may not know it. They may not understand. And a lot of autistic people my age or even a little bit younger are looking at their parents saying that they are narcissistic, that they were abusive, that they were didn't support their needs. And while some or all of this may be true, a lot of it was because they themselves were also undiagnosed and also unsupported. And in a time period where there was even less understanding or support for people who were different. My mom mentioned to me that she said if at my age, and I'm in my 40s, if technology had been around and such, if she had tried to do a video log explaining her internal struggles and what she was going through, she would have gotten fired from her job. People would have taken her children, me and my sister, away from her, and they would have locked her up in a mental institute. She had no doubt about that. And that makes me really upset. And I told her that's one of the reasons why I am doing this vlog, because I have the privilege, because there are still people who are in situations like that. There are people in our society in today's age that cannot talk about their mental health struggles because of fear of being fired, having their children taken away, or being locked up in a mental institute. That is still going on today. I have the privilege to speak out and explain to the world what it's like to be autistic because I don't have a job. I don't have to worry about getting fired because I have a very, very loving and supportive partner who, makes it where I feel secure in being able to speak out like this because I am not worried about where my next meal is going to come from. And no one's going to take my children away because I am a good mom. It is established. My husband is a good supportive father to them. Like, I have privilege to be able to explain. And I do get fake claimed a lot. I am diagnosed as autistic. I am a low support needs autistic person. That means that I was able to mask well enough that I did not get diagnosed because I was not a hindrance to people in society. People go so long undiagnosed because we see patterns in our world and we know not to do those things, because if you do those things, you will get labeled as weird, or you'll get in trouble, or you'll get shunned. So you don't do those things. And that creates people who are angry, bitter, cynical, traumatized. I just became, like I keep saying, I was a shell of a person. Like, I felt so lonely and so empty because I could not connect with anybody, because I only would show them my mask, which wasn't authentic, but I didn't know that. I thought I was being authentic. I didn't know I wasn't. I didn't know I was masking until I learned about autism, until I learned about the term masking. Then I saw, oh my gosh, everything I'm doing is fake. It was to protect other people. It was to protect myself. So I've been unmasking, and it is hard for some of the people in my life. Thankfully, like I said, my husband's been very supportive. It was really hard for my mom at first because she was like, you were such a go-getter. I could do anything I put my mind to. I was a go-getter, but it burnt me out and left me just exhausted. And with skill regressions and stuff like that, I really want to talk about that a little bit. This video is getting a little bit long, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about that a little bit. And I have some more videos about it, but I've learned even more, and I've kind of been more aware of my skill regression since the last time I talked about it. Burnout actually is because it's different than a neurotypical person who's like burnt out from their job and they're like, oh my gosh, I need a weekend away so I can like revitalize myself. Autistic burnout is when we have been living under stress for so long that our cortisol levels in our brain, and I might be getting the scientific terms incorrect. I'm not a medical professional, but this is my understanding. Our stress levels, because masking is stressful. Masking is 100% stressful because you're always kind of like double checking. You're not doing anything natural. You're always double, like you're running everything you're doing through your, like what I say, my neurotypical.exe. Like, do I respond this way? So that way I will be perceived as normal. And I'm using air quotes for normal because really it's typical. Am I perceiving as, the majority? I want to blend in. And so your cortisol levels max out because you are constantly living under stress with never ever letting yourself relax. And when you have cortisol levels that much in your brain for so long, your brain really literally rewires itself and causes regression because there's only so much it can function. And so for me personally, I have lost skills in the kitchen. I've mentioned that I have another YouTube channel that I started on cooking channel, and that channel is almost dying because I am struggling to cook at all. Like, I'm burning food, I'm under seasoning, I cannot meal plan like I used to, I can't schedule. Like I used to be able to have everything, all the vegetable, entree, everything come out at the same time. Now my veggies are cold and my meat is like overdone. Like I can't time my dishes like I used to. These are all things like beginners struggle with. And so I've had an actual regression of skills. I used to be a really, really amazing cook. Now I'm like, not a beginner, but I am not where I used to be. I have an awareness of a drop in skills that I can't just go back to how I was. Like I'm trying and I keep making mistakes. I have an actual regression of skills in the kitchen. The second thing is I've had some regression in driving. My kids even noticed it. They're like, Mom, you never used to run yellow lights. And now I'm like running yellow lights because my timing's a little bit off. I still am a safe driver. I'm aware that driving has been a little bit more difficult for me than it used to be, but I am still very safe. And if there was ever a time where my kids, my husband, or I thought I wasn't safe to drive, I wouldn't. When I say I have a skill regression in driving, it's just like a tiny bit. Luckily, I have not had a drastic skill regression. It's more of timing. Like yesterday, I said I would get to my mom's house at 5:45 to pick her up for dinner, and I got there at 5:30. I just forgot how to time how it longs to take from my house to her house. So that's some of the like, again, in the kitchen too, there's like a lot of timing issues happening in my brain that make it harder. So it's not really a safety issue, it's just more of a timing. And then another area that I have noticed a really big skill regression is filling out forms. When you go to a doctor's office, you have to fill out tons of forms. I used to love doing that. I think the analytical autistic part of my brain, I loved filling out forms. It just was methodical and it's like your name, I could fill that out. It was just, I liked it. It was fun for my brain. Now, when I'm filling out forms, I am, other than, your basic name and address and stuff, whenever you have to get to any of the questions parts, I am like overthinking and overanalyzing and not understanding the questions. Like I had to fill out a form at my son's occupational therapist the other day, and I literally had to ask the therapist, like, can you please explain what this means? I don't know what it means. And so she had to help me fill out that form. And like I've been trying to fill out a passport form, and I don't know what the questions mean. Like I'm like, what is it asking me? I don't know what this is asking me. So I've had a regression in filling out forms. So burnout literally rewires your brain. And Some people can recover. Some people have to learn new adaptations, I've heard. Sometimes you can regain the skills, and sometimes you just have to learn how to adapt to new skills depending on where your aggression is. So, anyway, like always, thank you so much for your support, and don't feel like you need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Monitor your words. Sometimes tone tags are useful and appreciative. I'll put a screenshot of what tone tags are. But this is an autistic safe place, and I don't want anybody to feel like they have to mask in my comment section. This was not a call out to like, hey guys, be nice. This was, like I said, a really amazing learning opportunity for myself, because I want to walk the talk. I don't know that phrase, but I want to live the life that I'm actually promoting. So if I don't want people to perceive my bluntness as being rude, I'm not going to do that to y'all either. Thank you guys so much again, and I will hopefully see you on the next video. Bye. Okay, so instead of a cute little clip at the end about my pets, I did want to give a shout out to this chair because I've mentioned it before in a video a long time ago, but I'm loving this chair even more. It's like a similar one is going viral on TikTok, but I like this one better than the TikTok one because the TikTok one, the chair back goes up to here. This one is low, so I can sit sideways and still use it as an armrest. And so here's like the whole chair, and it's called a crisscross chair, and I have it linked in my Amazon store, but it is big enough to cross your legs in and sit all different ways, especially if you've got smaller thighs than I do. You can sit with one leg like up high. Well, I can do it too. But absolutely love this chair. And so if you want it, if you're looking for a good fidgety ADHD chair and it's got wheels, it is linked in my Amazon shop. It's not sponsored. I bought this thing. I'm just telling you I love it.